Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few really know what you are. Did you really choose the life you are living right now? Or have you unknowingly become trapped inside a cycle that was imposed on you? Because people wake up in the morning, start the day with the same rush, pay their bills, try to catch their breath a little, and call this life. But very few people stop and ask themselves this: am I really moving forward? Or am I only looking for a more comfortable corner inside the same cycle? This is exactly where the painful truth appears. In life, everyone is part of the same game, but not everyone's level is the same. For some, the struggle is only trying to survive. Some think they're safe. Some wake up. Some create systems. Some manage the flow of resources. And very few people come close to the side that sets the rules of the game. According to Machiavelli, power reveals an important truth. Wealth is not just about money. Wealth is the ability to create options. Power is not just about managing others. Power is not handing the steering wheel of your life to someone else. The real question is this: is your own life in your hands, or is life dragging you along? In a moment, you will learn the 6 levels of wealth, freedom, and control. But do not see this only as a story about making money. This is about realizing the invisible cage in which a person lives. Because every level brings with it a trap of its own. It tells a story to keep you there. And most people spend their lives believing this story. At the end of this journey, you will ask yourself one single question: which level am I really on? The level I tell people about, or the real level reflected by my habits, fears, and options? If you are ready, let's begin. An important distinction must be made here. These levels are not determined only by the numbers in your bank account. 2 people with the same income can be on completely different levels. One manages his money through fear, the other through strategy. One becomes more dependent as his income increases. The other gains more options as his income increases. For this reason, the real measure is not only how much do I earn. The real measure is the question: how much freedom does what I earn give me? As you watch, do not defend yourself. Before saying, "I am not like that," review your habits. Because a person's real level is not in their words, but hidden in the behaviors they repeat. What you do, what you tolerate, what you postpone, and what you cannot say no to clearly reveal the step you are on. Sometimes the most uncomfortable truth a person hears about themselves is also the very thing that wakes them up. Level 1. The survival level. At this level, the control of your life is not in your mind, but in the hands of your fear. A person makes decisions not with a plan, but under pressure. Rent approaches, the heart tightens. The debt deadline arrives, breathing becomes difficult. The phone breaks, the order collapses. An unexpected bill appears, and the entire balance falls apart. Even the thought of losing your job turns into a disaster scenario inside your mind. This is not a level of freedom. It is a level of survival. From the outside, it may look like a normal life, but inside, there's a constant feeling of being on edge. Because your security is not in your own hands. Your boss decides your salary. The peace in your home is determined by your landlord. The bank draws the limits of your range of movement. The determining factor of your mood is the economy, and you are forced to bear the consequences of decisions made by powers above you. Machiavelli understood very well the danger that dependency carries, because someone who becomes dependent on someone else slowly loses their freedom to make decisions as well. People at this level often think they are making their decisions freely, but the options in front of them have already been narrowed. That is why the survival level is not only a financial problem, it is the mind slowly closing down. When fear becomes a part of daily life, a person finds it difficult to make brave decisions. They are forced to tolerate bad conditions. They do not speak up against disrespectful people. Instead of pursuing a better opportunity, they try to maintain their existing bad order. They sell their long-term freedom for short-term comfort. Because At that moment, the only thought is to save the day. But at this point, an important distinction appears. Some people experience pain and only become tired. Some people suffer and learn. Those who can get out of the first level are not always the luckiest ones. They are the ones who, instead of seeing the difficulties they experience as a personal misfortune, examine them in order to learn the system. Every economic hardship teaches them a lesson. Every bad decision leaves behind a piece of data. Every humiliation reveals the invisible cost of dependency. At some point, the question changes. Instead of saying, "Why are these things happening to me?" you begin to ask, "How does this game really work?" That is exactly when a small but decisive break occurs. Because when a person begins to question the game, they are no longer only a victim. They become an observer, they become a student, and one day, they become a player. However, most people think that leaving the first level means true freedom, yet they have only entered a second trap that appears softer. Level 2. The illusion level. At this stage, life seems to have started improving. You are no longer drowning every day. You can pay your bills on time. You have some savings, even if they are small. Maybe you can get by for a month or two. Someone looking from the outside may say, they have finally put their life in order. But the real danger appears exactly at this point. Because sometimes a person feels safe, not because they have become free, but because their pain is not like it used to be. At this level, a large part of your income still depends on selling your time. When you stop working, the flow of money stops. If you get sick, the system shakes. When you lose your job, the whole plan changes. When the economy worsens, your comfort zone is shaken. In other words, the foundation you have built is still fragile. Only panic has been replaced by comfort. A more comfortable cage is still a cage. At this level, people often focus more on building the image of wealth than on building wealth itself. A better phone, a better car, a better vacation, more luxurious clothes, a nicer house, more stylish photos. When viewed from the outside, they seem to have risen, but inside, the same fragility still exists. A single emergency can shake the entire order you have built. One bad period can revive old fears. A job loss can push a person back down to the survival level. This is the modern trap. Comfort without freedom, security without ownership, stability without control. The psychological power of this level is very high, because now you are not desperate enough to change, but you are not strong enough to truly become free either. You remain right in the middle. You are too comfortable to take action, too dependent to relax. A person begins to protect the cage they have become used to. They call it my order. They call it realism. They call it, this is good enough. Maybe it is truly good to a certain extent. But not everything that looks good sets you free. Sometimes the thing that comforts a person is the very thing that stops their growth. Right here, the real question is this. What if the comfort that is calming you right now is actually the thing stopping your progress? This question makes a person uncomfortable, because it is not easy to accept that you are still powerless inside a life that looks successful from the outside. But that discomfort is exactly where change begins. And this brings you to the third level. Level 3. The awakening level. This is exactly where a person begins to think differently for the first time. You now realize that working more alone is not the solution. More overtime, more exhaustion, more sacrifice. These things work up to a certain point. But after a threshold, what changes life is not working more, but building a more correct system. At this level, you begin to build something. Maybe a skill, maybe a small business, maybe a brand, maybe an investment habit, maybe a new order in which you manage your circle, your time and your energy more consciously. For the first time, you focus not only on making money, but on creating options. And options change the way a person thinks. Being able to say no is a great power. Being able to reject bad opportunities is a great power. Being able to distance yourself from people who drain you is a great power. Beginning to think about the future instead of just the days means acting with strategy, not in panic. You may not have reached wealth yet, but you are no longer as helpless as before. You gain mental space. You gain breathing room. You gain the strength to think about the next step. This level is extremely motivating because for the first time you say, so change is possible. For the first time, you see that life is not only something you are dragged through, but something you can direct to a certain extent. But here, another trap awaits you. Small successes can block great transformations. You fill your pocket with a little money. You receive a little respect. You live a slightly better life. And the mind whispers to you, okay, this is enough. You are already better than most. There's no need for more. Many people stop here. They leave poverty behind, but they never reach real power. They become comfortable, but not free. They reach a better life than before, but they cannot fully overcome their limits. Because the real question at the gate of the third level is this: will you choose comfort, or will you choose growth? At this stage, growth requires taking risks. To grow what you have built even further, you must be willing to face uncertainty. You must learn more, become more selective, and think bigger. Sometimes you must destroy the order you have created. In Machiavelli's view, security is important, but it is not enough on its own. Security protects you. Leverage lifts you. That is why the following question appears here. Do you only want a more comfortable life, or do you want to take control of your life? If your answer is control, the door to the fourth level now opens. Level 4, the leverage level. At this stage, a completely different game begins. You no longer ask, how can I work more? You ask, how can I get more results from a single effort? Most people sell their time, energy, and attention directly in exchange for income. They work more for more income. They tire their bodies more in order to work more. As they become more tired, their lives become narrower. But at the leverage level, the matter is very different. Here, you create systems. You turn your knowledge into a product. You turn your reputation into new opportunities. You put your capital to work. You create a multiplier effect through people, tools, technology, and processes. Something you build once begins to produce results again and again. At this level, income does not lose its importance. However, ownership becomes more important. Income covers today. Ownership builds tomorrow's future. The focus of the majority is salary. The focus of strategic thinkers is resources. Because what grows wealth is not always working more. It is choosing your position better. Who controls the resource? Who stands at the center of the system? Who can use other people's time, attention, knowledge, and capital as leverage? At this level, money begins to work on your behalf. Your business begins to produce value without constantly depending on you. Your investments move even when you are not working. Your brand begins to build trust before you even say a single word. Your network opens new doors on your behalf. This is powerful, but it is heavy. Because the fourth level is not only financial, it is also a test of character. You need to be more disciplined. You need to be more selective. You may not go to every invitation. You may not be able to maintain every relationship. You cannot expect everyone to understand the path you are walking. Some people will say you are no longer the same. Some will think you have become distant. Some will misunderstand your ambition. And exactly at this point, you must accept one truth. If you try to please everyone, you lose your strategic clarity. This level requires you to break your addiction to approval, because big goals are not shaped according to the daily reactions of the crowd. Sometimes you move forward alone. Sometimes you remain silent. Sometimes you continue working without giving any explanation. Sometimes you accept not being loved by everyone. One of Machiavelli's harsh truths is this: a person who tries to please everyone often weakens their own power. At the leverage level, discipline is no longer something you do. It becomes your identity. Your understanding of free time changes. You begin to distinguish between entertainment and escape. Weekends, distractions, unnecessary relationships, and unplanned spending begin to carry different meanings for you. Because now you understand, temporary comfort is one of the greatest enemies of lasting freedom. The person who can endure this discomfort moves to the fifth level, which very few can reach. Level 5, the sovereignty level. At this point, money no longer only makes your life easier. It begins to create influence. Your resources now exceed your needs by far. Your assets gain value over time. Your capital grows. Opportunities begin to come closer to you than ever before. You are now invited into rooms you could not enter before. Some people begin to take you truly seriously for the first time. Some of the decisions you make now affect not only you, but also the lives of others. A single phone call can open a new door. A single investment can change the direction of a company. A single partnership can change the future of many people around you. This is the point where wealth turns into influence. But the level that looks the brightest from the outside can carry great pressure inside. Because the field in which you compete has now changed. You are no longer competing with the average, but with the strongest people in your field. On the same stage, there are now other capital owners, strategists, founders, and people carrying great visions. At this level, the cost of mistakes is much heavier. A wrong partnership can erase years of effort. A wrong decision can cause major losses. A wrong relationship of trust that has been formed can damage your reputation. Even small weaknesses can create heavy costs. And the hardest question appears: whom can you trust? Because power changes the nature of relationships. Some people love you. Some love your position. Some approach not you, but what you have. Some appear to be friends, but look after their own interests. Some remain silent, but watch every step carefully. Some applaud, but wait for the right moment. According to Machiavelli, power brings both loyalty and betrayal with it. The higher you rise, the more carefully you must read people's intentions. At this level, a full sense of comfort does not truly form. Only the type of problems you face changes. The concern of making a living decreases, but the responsibility of protection increases. The question, "How do I earn?" is replaced by the questions, "How do I protect it? How do I grow it? Whom do I allow in?" The hardest side of the sovereignty level is that a person must face themselves. Until reaching this point, you have paid significant prices. Maybe from old friendships, maybe from comfort, maybe from the need for approval, maybe from some of your principles, maybe even from a simpler, more innocent version of yourself. That is why the real question at this level is not, "How much did you earn?" It is the question, "What have you actually become?" This is not an easy question to answer, because as a person rises, not only their pocket fills, their personality also takes shape. They become tougher, more selective, sometimes more alone. This is not always a bad thing, but it is a cost that must not be ignored. But beyond all of this, there is another level that very few people reach. Level 6, the immunity level. At this point, money is no longer at the center of the story. Money is still a part of your life, but it has lost its emotional weight. The numbers reach such a point that the issue is no longer buying more expensive things, but building more lasting things. At this level, the real currency is legacy, influence, institutions, systems, structures that will continue working after you. These people are not only players who play the game well, they are people who change the way the game works. They shape industries, they influence culture, they can direct policies, they establish institutions, they build funds, foundations, companies, media structures, networks, and long-lasting systems. The impact of their decisions spreads through society in ways most people do not notice. This level is the domain of those who build empires, dynasties, and lasting institutions. But at this point, there is an interesting truth. The greatest power is often the most invisible power. Because after this point, being visible stops being an advantage and turns into a risk. Applause loses its value. Being known loses its importance. Instead of stepping onto the stage, you determine how the stage will be built. Even if your name is not known, your influence continues. You act through representatives, teams, boards of directors, institutions, and structures. You can direct things without leaving a trace. You can get results without making noise. In Machiavelli's logic of power, the highest level is sometimes not appearing, but creating influence without being seen. At this point, wealth turns into a philosophical question. What will remain after I am gone? Which structure will continue to live after me? Will my influence continue even if my name is forgotten? At the sixth level, a person understands that money is not the final goal. Money is a bridge leading to freedom, influence, legacy, and leaving a meaningful mark. But most people cannot reach this point, not only because they cannot earn enough money, but because they cannot think beyond themselves. Some people think about the end of the month. Some think about the year. Some think about 10 years. Very few people think about the generations after themselves. Those who leave a lasting mark on the world are generally a small number of people. If you are at the first level, your goal is not to become rich quickly. First, it is to build breathing room, a small emergency fund, ending unnecessary debts, mastering a basic skill, beginning to see your spending. From the outside, these may seem unimportant, but mentally they begin a great transformation. Because for the first time, a person tastes the feeling of, I am not completely helpless. This feeling is the first spark of rising. If you are at the second level, your greatest enemy is not poverty, but the lies you tell yourself. Because now it is easy to look good from the outside. People may think of you as organized, successful, and balanced. But when you lay your head on the pillow, you know the truth within yourself. You realize what you would experience if your income stopped, how shaken you would be if a crisis occurred, and how few options you actually have. That is why leaving the second level begins not with creating an image, but with building a solid foundation. If you are at the third level, the greatest risk waiting for you is early satisfaction. Do not stop when the first success comes. Because the first gains do not show the end of the road. They are signs that you are moving in the right direction. When a person covers a certain distance, they compare themselves with their past and feel successful. But the real question is not whether you are better than your past self, but whether you are moving toward your potential. If you are at the fourth level, you feel that everything is speeding up. But being fast alone is not enough. If leverage is built in the wrong place, it creates chaos instead of growth. The wrong team, the wrong partnership, the wrong system, the wrong brand language do not make you rise faster. They tire you faster. That is why at this level, clarity is more valuable than gold. You must know what to grow, what to leave behind, and which battle not to enter. If you are at the fifth level, the greatest test that comes with power is loneliness. Because people usually see the result. They do not notice the price paid for that result. People criticize your decisions, but they do not see the risk you carry. They find you distant, but they do not see the responsibility on your shoulders. At this stage, what matters is not being emotionless. but not allowing your emotions to manage you. If you are at the 6th level, the question is no longer, what will I gain? The question becomes, what will I make sustainable? Because individual success reaches its limits after a certain point. Lasting power is hidden in building structures that will live beyond a person's own life. That is why at the highest level, while the ego shrinks, influence grows. Now, after all these levels, the question comes to you. What is your level really? Do not answer according to the life you show to the outside. Do not answer according to your image on social media. Do not answer according to your phone, your clothes, the brand of your car, or the appearance of the house you live in, because appearance often hides the real level. The real answer is hidden in tougher questions. If your income stopped, how long could you stand? How many options do you have that allow you to say no? Whom are you dependent on? Which fears manage your decisions? Which habits keep you in the same place? Which relationships grow you, and which ones return you to your old self? Your real level is not what you own. It is your real control over your life. Most people find a step where they feel comfortable and stay there. They often see this as peace. They see it as maturity. They see it as realism. But sometimes this is only a more reasonable form of fear. If there is still an uneasiness inside you, do not silence it immediately. Maybe that uneasiness is trying to tell you this. You do not have to stay where you are. The only thing that determines the difference between levels is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not opportunity. Most of the time, the difference is hunger. The hunger to become more. The hunger to reject a life determined by fear. The determination to live your life not according to the approval of others, but according to your own will. But every level carries a price of its own. Every rise has a cost. There are only falls whose price has been postponed. At the 1st level, you must leave helplessness behind. At the 2nd level, you must leave behind the illusion created by comfort. At the 3rd level, you must leave behind the excessive search for security. At the 4th level, you must give up getting everyone's approval. At the 5th level, you must let go of the idea that everything will remain simple. At the 6th level, you must give up your ego. Because rising is not only earning more, it is turning into a different person. You cannot build a new life on old habits. You cannot carry a greater future with the same discipline. You cannot grow a greater vision with a narrow perspective. Reality does not reward wishes. It rewards transformation. That is why today, be completely honest with yourself. Which level are the habits you repeat every day preparing you for? Are your expenses giving you freedom, or are they making you dependent? Are you using your time to invest in your future, or to escape? Do the people around you grow you, or do they pull you back into your old identity? Because no day is neutral. Every day, you either rise or remain where you are. Every choice either increases your future leverage power or strengthens the limits you currently have. A purchase, a relationship, an hour, a distraction, a postponement, a standard. They all accumulate one on top of another. One day, people think change happened all at once, yet change began inside you much earlier. You worked silently without being seen. You learned without anyone noticing. You prepared without anyone applauding. While others consumed, you built. While others wasted their time, you created strategy. Then one day, the difference appears. And people call it luck. But most of the time, it is not luck. It is accumulation. It is preparation. It is patience. It is discipline. It is the visible result of decisions made invisibly for years. One of Machiavelli's sharpest lessons is this: fortune stands beside those who are ready to seize it. An opportunity that appears before an unprepared person often becomes nothing more than a brief excitement. Success without a foundation cannot stand. Money without discipline does not remain for long. A person whose identity has not changed cannot sustain a new level. That is why the issue is not only wanting more. The issue is becoming the person capable of carrying the life you want. Also remember this. Although this path looks like a straight line, in reality, it is full of ups and downs. A person may reach the third level and fall back to the second level because of a bad decision. If you build a strong system at the fourth level, a single wrong debt or partnership can pull it back into your fears. That is why what matters is not only rising, but also being able to protect that level. Every step requires new skills. A behavior that worked at an old level may limit you at a new level. The real purpose of this content is not to blame you, but it is not to comfort you either. Because what a person needs is not gentle consolation, but a harsh warning. If the place you are in is now making you smaller, realizing this may hurt. But you cannot change something you are not aware of. You cannot build strategy on a truth you deny. That is why do not just listen to this text and move on. Integrate it into your own life. Write 3 things on a piece of paper. What are you most afraid of? Whom or what are you most dependent on? Which habit you have today keeps you at the same level? These 3 answers you give will show the step you are on more honestly than most decorated goals. And most importantly, give yourself small but continuous proofs. Big motivations are temporary. Small proofs change identity. Reducing a debt, improving in a skill, protecting an hour of your time, stopping an unnecessary expense, spending more time with the right people. The message each of these gives to your mind is this: I am someone who can manage my life. Over time, this sentence turns into behavior, behavior into character, and character into a new level. A single move that seems small today may be the first breaking point that changes the direction of your life tomorrow. Do not underestimate this, and begin. Now write only one number in the comments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Write which level you are truly on. Write it without lying to yourself, because rising begins the moment a person accepts where they are. If this text awakened something in you, save it. When you listen to it again one day, maybe you will realize that you are no longer at the same level. Now the decision is yours. Will you stay where you are and call it destiny? Or will you pay the price and move up to the next level?